Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now, seeing Colin, I don't feel overdressed anymore. But as I had this great honor to be the jury president, I thought I should also dress for the occasion. And I chose the black tie, even though obviously the invite was not for black tie, it was cocktail attire. Now, coming back to what maybe Bill has said and Colin has also said, a few of us indeed have been here for some time, the older ones of us, and indeed I remember 1998, that's 20 years ago when Business Review was starting, and it continues to be one of the very important sources of information for me, and also it was and continues to be a very easy way, not using Google Translate, to send over messages in English about Romanian business to our partners abroad. And that's a great tool that I've used and I continue to use. In terms of the 13 years of the Business Review Awards, that's also an important performance for Business Review. Not necessarily a lucky number for some people, lucky number for me for sure. Always had something with number 13, positive thing. And for quite a few years, not 13 years, but for quite a few years, I was also honored to be invited to be part of the jury. And this year in particular, I had the great honor to be chairing the jury of Business Review Awards. And I have to tell you, it was kind of a difficult, complicated, full of effort work for us, for the members of the jury. You have seen all of them, you continue to see them here on the LED screen. And that's because Business Review, for some reason, is stubborn enough to make this a very, very thorough, rigorous process, as opposed to maybe other juries and other awards that are awarded in Romania. And that's a very good thing, actually. But it took us no less than a few, in-person meetings, a few hours, every time, and with a lot of debates. It took us also a lot of offline and online, filling of scoring cards and trying to understand a bit better the profile of the nominees. A lot of nominations, and we are very happy to see that this year, with so many categories, there was practically no category with a small number of nominees. In all categories, we had a lot of nominees. In some of them, it was actually quite complicated to filter through to the short of or medium list to get to the final shortlist and then obviously the winners. The other thing about this year was that we have realized, based on the experience from last year's, that a couple of categories deserved a different treatment. So we decided, for instance, in terms of the social activities, social impact, to look at companies separately from the NGOs, because that was a problem prior years, that it was always difficult to evaluate how a company relates to their activity in terms of social impact and how an NGO, which is pure social entrepreneurship, relates to the same thing. So we said we'll do two different categories, and hopefully you'll also agree that this was the right decision. Another important decision for this year was to look at one major category, which I'm sure all of you are anxious to see the winner, which is the Entrepreneur of the Year. And then we realized that there are some entrepreneurs in Romania, great entrepreneurs with decades of experience, and it's difficult to put them in the same category, in the same list with younger entrepreneurs, not necessarily younger in terms of age, but younger in terms of their entrepreneurial experience, with just a couple of years of experience or a few years of experience back, and then try to select who's the Entrepreneur of the Year. So then we created this new category, and I think it's a great category, which is the Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year. All in all, because I think I only have 5 minutes or so, as I was informed by the organizers, all in all, it was a relatively complicated process. It was a great interaction with the other jury members. As you have seen, again, the list, you'll agree with me that it's great people with diverse types of experience and knowledge. And it was actually amazing to see that among the jury members, there was basically no nominee or no company, no person, because we're also talking about managers, leaders, entrepreneurs, which would not have, let's say, the resonance or the recognition of at least some of the jury members. And this is really enriching for me and certainly for the other jury members, that we have learned so much about some of the greatest companies, greatest initiatives, greatest entrepreneurs, managers, leaders of Romania of today. And there are so many of them, and you'll probably see that during the gala, going further with all the awards that will be handed out by maybe some of my jury duty colleagues or some other important business persons who are present in the room tonight. With that, thank you very much, and let's go on with Call It again.